Welcome to C2C Central. We're here at 44 McPhillips at the Grand Royal Legacy Hotel. I'm Tyler Ranger, your host as always. We're here with the big boss man, Vin Robinson. And today we're just having an overarching discussion about, just what businesses can do to help us out in Winnipeg here, and about just what we can do to help our sports situation in Manitoba. Really, for a lot of kids, a lot of teenagers, there's not really that outlet there once they get older to keep pursuing sports, and a lot of people end up giving up on it. So, Vin, for kids, there's lots of options to get them into sports. They might be a little bit expensive in some areas, but just talk a little bit about how important it is to get kids into sports.
Well, sports, what more can I say? They usually say it's the second half of education. And we know that there's some sports out there that are cheaper than others in order to participate in. You look at soccer, track and field, you need some cleats and a ball, and away you go. Others have different points of entry that are a little bit more expensive. But all in all, you can see toddlers, just basically running around, kicking a ball or doing something, activity, and what that does. So at that age, there's a few different options, right? You have daycares, babysitters. But I think at the end of the day, really what you want to see is your kid being active and having some type of literacy. So athletic literacy is something that's huge there. Physical literacy, and what can I say? If these kids don't have it, they might be missing out on a skill of life.
Yeah, there's lots of skills that sports teaches really young kids, like self-confidence and teamwork, things that are really crucial to kids that they're not really going to pick up in other spaces. You're not really going to, also to like competing in a competitive environment, learning what it means to win, how to try hard, and that feeling of accomplishment when you win, learning how to handle losing, how to get better and keep growing. These are things that for kids, it can be difficult to find themselves in situations like this if they're not in sports. So, really important to get kids into sports. And then obviously as they grow, keeping them involved, keeping them active and interested in sports, feeling like they have a real shot to, continue the sport, even if it might not be at the highest professional level, like, making millions of dollars. But that doesn't mean that, you can't continue your basketball path or your football path, whatever that might be, right? So.
Right. And I think, it all starts from the seed, right? From the nucleus, which is just getting out there, running on the pitch, getting out there, running on the hardwood. We have a lot of really, not to take anything away from sport, but we have a lot of really good athletes that have come out of Manitoba. We have a lot of really good coaching that have come out of Manitoba. And we have a lot of really good, long-standing business owners in our community in Manitoba. And there's almost like a social responsibility that we have, whether you're a parent, whether you're a business owner, it doesn't really matter who you are, just being in a little bit of a position of power or noticing that you can do things a little bit more than somebody else. I'm a Winnipegger, born and raised here, and I'm noticing as I'm aging that not much has changed. And this is part of our show today, and why we're having this topic, this conversation, is really sitting at a round table looking for change to happen, and cultural change in our community. Maybe, Ty, talk to me. I mean, you play basketball?
I played basketball a little bit when I was younger in high school. I'm a little bit on the lazier end now. There's a reason I've set myself up in the broadcast booth. But I definitely dabbled a little bit. Springfield Collegiate MVP, 2 years.
See, I wouldn't have known that. Yeah. So there you go. So that's what I mean. Like, you love a sport, you have a passion for the sport, and what's happening is that this sport isn't free, right? You pay to play. You pay to get coaching. You pay for a resource. And most people that I know are paying for something, to get something out of something. What happens when you pay into something and you fall short? Not by yourself, but just by the fact that you've achieved at every level and now you want to become an Olympian and there's no support there for you financially to do what you need to do. you're not in the streamline of hockey or football, which are strong suit, high profile sports in this
That have a
province.
lot of investment, a lot of
Right.
infrastructure poured into it from our government, from our country.
That's exactly what I was getting at, is that the dollars that are streaming down from the government are going into the province. And from the province, they're sanctioning those dollars to go to the provincial sport organizations. And the provincial sport organizations are then determining what to do with those funds. But I don't see an exit strategy or generational wealth for any sports that are not privileged.
Mm-hmm.
So where does the change come in our community? I think we need to take a second to think about that, because it's a deep dive.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
then I guess when we come back from our commercial break, we could pick back up there.
Yeah, for sure. All right, again, this is C2C Central, giving us a lot to think about here. We'll be back. Stay right with us. Okay, we're back here with C2C Central, again in the basement of the Grand Royal Legacy Hotel, here with Vin Robinson. We're having a good discussion here about Sport Manitoba. So again, Vin, just rehash a little bit what we were just talking about there.
Yeah, well, really what it is just about opportunity. We need more streamlined opportunities, and they don't really seem to be coming out of the business sector. They seem to be coming out of the private sector, and business owners within the private sector that are small business owners, or even medium-sized business owners, but their impact is vast.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of impact is coming from that. So I guess the direct question is how do we create cultural change? You've been in this province for some time, but are you always from Manitoba?
Yeah, I was born in Ontario, but I lived in Manitoba since I was really young.
Right.
I spent 1 year in Alberta,
Right.
but other than that, I've basically been in Manitoba the whole time.
Okay.
And for me, I would just say, it's really important to just, like, everyone has to want the change. If everyone just is comfortable with where we are, if everyone just only cares about hockey, only cares about football, and that's just all they want, all they care about supporting, then that's all that's ever going to be supported. And then you just have an entire generation of kids who, aren't supported in what they're going for in sport. And like you said, when you invest into something, when you're putting your money and your time into it, you want to have you want to have an end goal, you want to have an exit strategy. So for just so many kids in our city, in our province, there's just not really that exit strategy for them. Mm-hmm. And it's up to us to just decide we want to start giving them that exit strategy.
Right. So I take a look at per capita. So let's start taking a look at some of the pros and cons of being in Winnipeg or Manitoba. And something that we hear time and time again is about we're the murder capital of the country. I'm dumbfounded that we have so many community centers, we have so many arenas, but we're not really catering to the newcomers. The newcomers are from ethnic diversity backgrounds from all mm-hmm. across the world.
For sure.
But we're not doing anything for them. So now we have to wonder who's really getting in trouble out there, who's really having issues with legal issues. And is that because we don't have a safety net set in place for these athletes mm-hmm. or for these people, these citizens?
Right. To kind of get them into more of a positive space. And it might be something where, they're not interested in hockey. That's right. A very Canadian thing, right. So investing in things like cricket and stuff like that, soccer, rugby, these type of things that are still very interesting sports that have very wide followings, that if you started to develop them more, you could have, a more diverse group of people who are supported in Sport Manitoba.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this isn't just about Sport Manitoba.
Yeah.
There are obviously
sports in Manitoba.
Sports in Manitoba,
yeah,
right,
sorry.
Right. But with that being said, I know that there's a lot of really good groups out there that are doing really good work. But it seems that these are independent groups that are not sanctioned, or they're, separate from the beast, mm-hmm. Of sport. And I think that when that starts to happen, it's a good thing, mm-hmm. because it's starting to wake people up to the fact that we have the people, we have the per capita, the demand is there. You see it with basketball right now, that's booming in the summer. But they used to say this in sport, don't fake the funk on a nasty dunk. It's kind of the same thing here, where you're saying if we had basketball in the winter here, it wouldn't happen because it's hockey central. So the Jets play. So the Sea Bears would never get a chance to play.
Yeah.
So once again, looking at infrastructure that is in the city of Winnipeg, where would these pro teams play out of in winter? And do we have the facility for it? So once again, these are challenges, these are hurdles. I mean, I go to West Edmonton Mall, I've got an indoor water park and an amusement park in there that can keep me happy in the winter. What I'm noticing after all my traveling, when I come back to Winnipeg, people work very hard in this collar industry, this blue collar, white collar industry. They earn their dollars, and then we give them outlets like casinos. We give them outlets like cheap cigarettes. We give them outlets like cheap booze.
Yeah.
And what does that do? Mental health. Are we stimulating our economy, or are we really just letting the people that are in positions of power remain there?
Exactly. Not doing what we need to do to help the people not in the positions of power.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No.
Well, what I was going to say is I think we should take another quick wrap up here, but when we come back, start taking a look at taxation, because I think that we have really forgotten who we are. And when I'm talking about taxation, I'm really saying that we are all taxpayers that are grouping our money and entrusting that money into key peoples to make the decisions for us that will ultimately help us grow. Are we stalled?
Yeah.
Are we at a standstill? So we'll talk about that when we come back.
All right. Well, there you go. There's the teaser for you. Give us about 30 seconds. We'll be right back. Thanks. Okay, we are back here, C2C Central again. I'm your host, Tyler Roger, sitting across from Vin Robinson here. And we just left off on that little teaser here. We're going to be talking about taxation, about just what businesses can be doing to, again, try to help better our communities, take that call to action, that responsibility to really take it on themselves to help around us. So Vin, take us off from there.
Well, I'm coming from a place of looking at economics. And when we look at the economics, we know that we're all taxpayers. And when we're all paying our taxes, we are entrusting particular groups in our community to make sure that we get the stuff that we need. With our tax-paying dollars, I'm not sure if we're still doing what we need to. And my question to the public of Winnipeg and Manitoba, I mean, you could reach out to us by logging on to C2C news.net and start to engage with us on this forum. But is the city at a standstill? I was in Ontario, in Toronto, and you could go to Mississauga, you could go to Scarborough, you could travel up and down the 401, and there's so much going on, endless going on.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Some of our players, they wanted to go out, after the game when we were in Toronto, and they're used to the clubs ending at 2:00, and they were starting.
Yeah, they're
at
starting
2
at 2 o'clock. Yeah, exactly.
So once again, I'm looking at opportunity, and what do we have to offer? Another interesting point would be I went out for a dinner the other night, and I don't want to go to a nightclub,
Yeah.
I want to go to a lounge and maybe have a dinner dance.
Yeah.
So that's really where my head was at, and there was nowhere to go.
Nowhere to fit that bill for you?
Nowhere to fit that bill for me. And so I'm a little lost. I'm lost being born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, my home. And I'm starting to get to the point where as I age, I'm feeling alien, where I feel like I should be feeling more connected.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's strange.
Yeah, and we already talked about having people talk to us, come in. So it's, it's an open discussion forum, right? We don't exactly have a table right now, but it is a round table type of discussion. So for anyone who would like to come on and tell us about, exactly what is being done with the tax dollars, they can maybe say why we're not in a standstill or help to argue that. But, really for me, again, I have been living here for quite a while now. When you talk about standstill, I just, it didn't even really occur to me that a city could add things and get more, because I've been so used to just Winnipeg. It's been basically just the same in that regard since I was a little kid. There's never been really anything like that added. So definitely something that the city could improve in, and definitely something that hopefully we could get some people from the city to come on and talk to us about that. Let us know.
Absolutely. Some of the other things that I noticed too is that maybe in years where our pro teams are not doing as well as they should, we start to see a lot more ethnic concerts come in, fill in the space, maybe helping close the gap dollar-wise. So that's another area of concern of mine, is that are we tapping groups that are less privileged for the privileged when we see that those ticket sales necessarily aren't there at the beginning of the season? What type of leadership from the pro aspects of basketball, hockey, football, baseball, and soccer really have in our province that is going back to feed those grassroots sports and give a strong exit strategy? So 2 programs I'm going to tip my hat to: Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Winnipeg Jets. They're entrenched into the schools. The arenas, the curling rinks, they're built for them.
Yeah.
They've partnered with universities to build their own buildings, stadiums. Where does everybody else fall?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's the issue here. So open end discussion. We need to start bringing light to the things that are in the dark. And it's important to have these conversations. So C2C Central's platform is here for this, like you had mentioned. And I think we do relish the opportunity to have some open-end discussion with some key people in our community.
For sure. Definitely be something we can look forward to. Again, we talked about, what can we be doing to better help kids get into sport, stay into sport longer, and continue their sporting careers even after they graduate high school. Again, when I grew up, and it was a foregone conclusion for me that when I finished high school, I was done playing basketball. Didn't know if there was a program for me, kind of where that could have taken me, and where, maybe I don't end up in the NBA, but I could still be, could have went and played for a university, something like that, right? So,
college.
Exactly. There could be just more options for us. And then, of course, with other sports as well, having that option as well. And then as well with what we're doing with their taxation, how we can help our communities better that way. Okay.
I'm still a little bit interested as well. I know that this hockey scandal is still going on, and it seems to be something that's just glided the lily pad, and we don't talk about it anymore. So once again, these are community dollars that I think is important to be out there talking about in a transparent air, because these organizations are collecting ongoing dollars and not having to answer for it. So
and it's important that us as people, we decide, those are essentially our dollars, right? We have to decide that they're going to the right places and being used for the right things, right?
That's right. It's really our money.
Exactly.
It really is our money.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's get to a commercial. When we come back, we'll talk maybe a little bit about what is in our community and what is coming to our community to relieve some of this stress.
All right, Vin with the teaser again. We'll be right back. Again, with C2C Central, I'm Tyler Roger. All right, we are back here again with C2C Central. We are here, Tyler Roger, your host, Vin Robinson again, in case you forgot. So again, we're just closing up our discussion here. I don't want to talk your ear off too much more, but again, we're talking about some of the assets that we do have for us in the city here.
Right. Yeah, and what I was looking at is exit strategy. We talked a little bit about it, and I know some of these sports are starting up soccer is getting on the semi-pro level, and baseball's been here forever, right? I mean, that's really a staple. I do take my hat off to the Gold Eyes as well. That I forgot to say that, doing terrific things and champions more over than not. But the lesser profile sports, basketball, soccer, those sports really need to step up. It's needed. We have a growing population of new immigrants that are coming in, and these are really sports that would be embraced by those countries. So we can't turn an eye on them. And at Coast to Coast Sports, what we've been doing is filling that gap in a nonprofit way. And I think that that's something that we should be talking a little bit about today. We are a nonprofit that is in the junior category from 18 to 25 that help people in the sports realm. Our primary focus is basketball, through Midwest basketball, that even during COVID, we didn't stop. We continually help athletes through their education and even transition to people that I know have become lawyers through our program, that have become very successful people that are working for City of Ontario, City of Ottawa, City of, and it's just interesting watching these kids that started out from 12 years old, now 22, 23, 24, that have found their direction in life. And that comes through our nonprofit, which originally started as Manitoba Drive basketball. And I was just a dad that was there wanting to coach kids. And before long, we have 60 kids from Point Douglas area or the core that are all coming to learn a skill. And in that time frame, I'm not going to discount this. We're actually going to talk about it. John Fear from Fairway Tours, thank you once again for partnering with us so that we could send a stagecoach to Grand Forks in the beginning of April for spring break, and all these kids got this experience that they would have never otherwise got.
Yeah.
So who was doing that? Our nonprofit organization.
Yeah, and you get to actually, like, when you see them grow up like that, you get to actually see the influence that sport has on their life and how it's positively influenced them, and they get to where they want to be in life in part because of the influence of sport.
Yes, and they're still our family.
Exactly.
They're still our kids. They could still call us, reach out to us when they need support, direction, conversation. That lifeline is invaluable. And I think that's something that we discount today, is we don't really take the time to see the value.
The human element.
The human element. Sometimes the value is more than just monetary. Everybody's a gem. If you sit down and take a look at that person, you could see that they're bringing something to the table that is beautiful. So our program now has merged into something which is called Midwest Basketball. And we've had semi-pro athletes in the 18 to 25 category coming into Winnipeg on a regular basis from November all the way till April for years. One of our hurdles have been that no venue. That will change. I'm not convinced that it's going to change in the city of Winnipeg, but just like Toronto, we have Mississauga, we have Scarborough, we have outskirts that this can happen. So that's the beautiful thing about the world, right? Diversity.
Exactly. Everybody getting to offer what they offer, and all coming together to make one big pot.
That's right.
Exactly. So again, we talked about a little bit about having a place for them to play. I know that I've gotten to see some of these guys now that I've been working with us here, getting to call games, and I could say, like, it's really impressive what some of these guys can do, and giving them the chance to showcase their abilities after high school is a really, really awesome thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And myself as a former Winnipeg Cyclone, I see it as how great would this city be to explode and have winter basketball here again. That'd be huge.
Yeah.
The convention center, Winnipeg Convention Center, where we play, that's not the venue for it. But just sitting at the table and people like us having these discussions, there's an air about it. And this isn't about being the first to land on Plymouth Rock. This is about coming after the fact. So I'm fine with being Burger King, not McDonald's in this case.
Yeah.
But to all the newcomers, people that think that they're not being seen, we have a home for you here. So you can find us on coasttocoastnews.net. And please reach out to us because it's interesting topic, interesting conversation, and really roundtable conversation that we should be having in our community.
It's something that unless we start to discuss it ourselves and unless we take that responsibility on ourselves to really start working towards fixing it, it's never going to get fixed, right?
Right.
So it's something that it is up to us. It's up to you to go out and take a second to really realize that this is something important and that's something that we need everybody's help with.
Right. So enough placebo. Let's get, and enough with just treating the symptoms. Let's get to the real issue, the real meat and potato about what it is. And it's really about having outlets for our newcomers that are coming to our country. And there's no pulling the wool over the eyes. We're bleeding to death and we need that support now. So Chamber of Commerce, business owners, this is a calling. And it's for you to get out, get active, and get involved in your community and really start to create cultural change. The more C2C Central shows that you're going to see, you're going to be witness to these cultural changes. So the train is moving. Even if it's the caboose that you're hopping on, I'm still going to suggest that you get along for the ride. So I think we filled the plate pretty full today.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Gave you guys some homework to do.
that's right.
Yeah.
So you can find us here once again next week on C2C Central. Once again, you got a terrific host here.
Tyler Auger, as always.
And Vin Robinson here, just backing him up. So once again, tipping my hat to the city of Winnipeg, province of Manitoba. You've done a great job. We have a few tweaks to do. And I'd love to be part of the conversation.
All right. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for taking the time to be with us. Can't wait to see you guys next week. Again, for Coast to Coast Central, I'm Tyler Auger. This is Vin Robinson. Thank you very much.